fire away. So again, I'm joined here with Tim Sanders, former Yahoo Chief Solutions Officer from Yahoo, and he's a best-selling author with his book Love is the Killer App, and he's got a new one coming out this Wednesday called Today We Are Rich. And so, Tim, this book revolves kind of around this moment that could be referred to as your water tower moment, where you sort of realize you had this sideways years of a lack of progress and a lack of focus. And the book really revolves around a relationship, this individual that you called your rock. So just tell us a little bit about that person and that relationship and how that spawned this book.
You know, I've learned that every person has a second chance in life. No matter who you are, you have a second chance. And in my case, my first second chance happens right when I'm turning 5 years old, when my grandmother, Billy, picked me up underneath the water tower in Snyder, Texas. I'd been abandoned in a hotel room in Midland. The water tower is halfway between there and my hometown where I was actually raised, Clovis, New Mexico. She took me in because God had touched her heart with a message that she should groom me to something great. She raised me to believe that everyone has a second chance if you cultivate the right lifestyle. I really had it all my senior year, even my freshman year at community college, and then there was a terrible tragedy in my family, and like a lot of people do, I just responded poorly to it. The tragedy hit me personally. I rejected a lot of the things she raised me to believe, and I rejected my faith. And I went sideways for 13 years. One step forward, one step back. I would be given opportunities. I'd find some way to sabotage them. I did meet the love of my life. She saw something in me. I don't know what. She hung in there with me. And one day in 1996, going back home to visit Billy, I took a picture of that water tower on the way to Clovis. And when I got back home in Dallas, I was looking through the pictures. Most of them morose. And I saw that water tower. And I realized, I have another chance. And I called Billy, and I admitted that I'd gotten off the plan. I admitted that I had not practiced my faith, and I asked her forgiveness, and I asked her to be my teacher again. And oh, she was happy to do it. She got me started with a simple question. She said, let me ask you this. What are you not doing today that you were doing when things were going perfectly for you that championship year, your senior year? And when I began to tick those off, she crowed, "Today we are rich," because she realized I was about to get on the plan for confident living. And I got to tell you, a year later, I needed this because an opportunity came into my life that I could not go sideways with. I had the opportunity to go to work for Mark Cuban at his startup, AudioNet, which later became Broadcast.com. And Daniel, in 4 years, I went from check-to-check sales guy to the Chief Solutions Officer at Yahoo during the dawn of the Internet economy. And I can attribute it all to those 7 principles that Billy taught me twice, and that water tower moment that told me you've always got a second chance if you're willing to work.
Well, and it's such a great story because there's so many people that are in that moment or have that experience, and sometimes they don't even know it. And so it's really, I found it to be a great book to go back to those principles from your grandmother. And one of my favorite quotes in there from Billy was when she said, "It's okay to make mistakes, just make new ones."
That's right.
So talk a little bit about that.
Well, that's Great Depression talk, She plagiarizes a lot. She's probably plagiarized everybody that we appreciate. But that was something they talked a lot back in the 30s when they were trying to kickstart the economy again. Because people were really worried about making mistakes. I mean, when the economy crashes like it did in the 30s, you just worry that everything you do is going to go wrong. And nothing gets started till we get started. So a big meme back then was go out there and try, just make sure and fail fast. Remember what happened and don't do that again. Or as she taught me, go ahead and make mistakes. Just concentrate on making new ones. And that's how I raised my son, and that's how I encourage the people on my team at work. And it creates a spirit of innovation and entrepreneurship. And it also helps us do something very important at work. And this is my advice always for leaders. It allows us to objectify failure and personalize success. Because failure is a thing. No one wants to fail, but people do fail. No one wants to make big mistakes, but people make mistakes. And we've got to let them off the hook as long as they're willing to remember and to never forget the lessons they've learned.
Yeah, I mean, that's just a great concept. And another another idea that you really seem to hit, not only in this book, Today We Are Rich, but also in some of your other books like Love is the Killer App, is really the idea of knowledge, and how important it is to filter and manage and also process the information that you're taking in on a very regular basis. So why, in the idea of confidence, which is really what a lot of this book is about, why is knowledge intake so important to that?
Well, when you have, as Napoleon Hill would say, when you have specialized information, you have confidence because you know something. You know something that not everyone else knows. You know something about the truth. I love to gather knowledge either about the future as it affects me, or about my practice as my performance can improve. And by aggregating all this great knowledge and processing it so it can be easy to explain to you, and then sharing it with you later to create a feedback loop, I generate an incredible sense of looking forward to change, to looking forward to progress. I mentioned Mark Cuban before. This guy's a nut. He reads a book every other day, cover to cover.
Wow.
He's desperate to get back to reading books. That's what he does. He consumes them like we consume spaghetti. And he mostly reads about where the future's going, and he also reads about problems various people in his life have that he can help minister to. And he absorbs all these books, and he explained to me readers are leaders. Because readers make this really tough investment in learning high-value information, absorbing what's coming next. And he told me something a decade ago. Everything you need to know about what's coming next is in the library. It's not a headline in the newspaper, and it's sure not, on the web page somewhere of some news publication. It's deep within the heart of great books that have been written thoughtfully over the course of years that not only tell you stories, they give you solutions. So I always tell people, step one, feed your mind good stuff. Fill your mind with information that makes you more capable of not only performing at a higher level, but helping other people perform at a higher level too. As my old mentor Stanley Marcus taught me, you will never get dumber by making someone else smarter.
Yeah. Well, and again, that's just great advice in a world of 140 characters and tweets and status updates. Just the importance of all that knowledge and experience that has come before us for generations and generations. It's just a great idea.
Yeah, we've got to just continue to package that. We've got to continue to distribute it. And as far as Twitter goes, I mean, we can find a way in 140 characters, or I guess 120 if you want it retweeted.
Yeah.
We can find a way to make a difference. And one of the ones I just put out today was that giving is like exercise. The more you do it, the more you get out of it, and the better you get at it. I think there's like 118 characters. So you can do it, but you have to be very thoughtful.
Yeah. So let me shift gears just a little bit. A lot of my network here and people that might be able to catch this interview are from a church or ministry background.
Yes.
And as I read through this book, it's really kind of laced with this concept of spirituality. There's a lot of references to your upbringing in church, to Billy's faith. There's some sprinklings of scriptures and proverbs and thing in there. And then really at the end of the book, you kind of dive headfirst into some of that, and I was really pleased to get there. So the concept of this book is about harnessing the power of total confidence. Mm-hmm. So what's the relationship between faith, spirituality, and this idea of kind of becoming who you can be?
So total confidence, I want you to think of it as a trinity of powerful beliefs.
Yeah.
Total confidence is when you believe in yourself, you believe in your team, and you believe in a higher power, God. And you believe in all three. And the trinity of these beliefs form the good loop, where you have an outlook that you will be successful in a given circumstance, and it gives you energy, and it gives you boldness, and it gives you a calm. And you can't do it yourself. There is no such thing as a self-made person. I believe that self-confidence is important because the image you have of yourself defines the potential that you have to succeed. Or as Maxwell Maltz wrote in the great book 1961, Psycho-Cybernetics, when a student says they're poor at math, failing is a religious issue. So it starts with your self-image.
Yeah.
But you can't do it yourself. You've got to learn how to trust other people. So you've got to develop this confidence in other people, and you're going to do that by noticing what they get right, exercising your gratitude muscle, and giving encouragement and mentoring other people. Grow the network you depend on. And when all else fails, you call on God. And I say this because I really do believe, and Billy really taught me to believe that You know, God wants us to help ourselves first. He created us with all these skills and all these talents and all this unlimited power to minister and to serve each other. And we've got to remember that when you throw back your hands and say, Jesus, take the wheel, that better be the last resort. Because God scales. I mean, he can do anything, but he's incredibly encouraged when you're willing to try everything.
Well, that's just a perfect word. The whole mission of our church community down here is to help people fully become who God created them to be, and
That's
really
right.
that's kind of, you sum that up perfectly, exactly. So let me just, you've been really gracious with your time. Let me close with one question here. For going back to that water tower moment you had, when this book comes out on Wednesday and people are, walking down the aisles of the bookstore and see this, or maybe they come across this interview, if there's someone out there that maybe hasn't had that water tower experience, or maybe they have and have come to that realization that they need a change, that something needs to happen, what's one thing you would leave us with, kind of one something to wrap up this whole concept for us?
Well, here's the idea. Everyone has a second chance.
Yeah.
History is dotted with stories about people that at various stages of their life took their first step into the good loop. That loop, think of the good book.
Yeah.
That loop where you start to make good works, and as you make good works, you start to get signals from inside and from God and from the people in your life that you're starting to get it right. And you're starting to not make money, but you're making meaning. And as you get these signals, you're filled with energy, and you go back to the book and you find out another thing you can do. And as you do the next thing, you get filled with more energy, and it spins you up with love. And that's the good loop of life, and it starts with a single step. In my case, I went back to church, so to speak. I went back to my rock. And this is the message I have for a lot of people. The ministry value of Today We Are Rich is subtle, but I hope it punches through, Dan.
Oh, I think it absolutely does.
Never leave your faith. Don't test your faith. Faith tests you. Be strong.
Yeah.
Feed your mind good stuff. I encourage everyone watching this to, and Dan, I know you're going to have a link to this, go to my website and download the free excerpt, Feed Your Mind Good Stuff. It's an entire chapter that you can read right now. I'm happy to hear from you. I'm tim@timsanders.com. And I just want you to start with some of the exercises in Feed Your Mind Good Stuff. And I promise you, tomorrow, you're going to wake up and you're going to see a little bit of sunshine peek around those clouds of suffering and tell you, you know what? You can point this thing forward, because success is not a destination, folks. It's a direction forward.
Tim, that's great. I really I tell you what, just after talking to you here, I finished reading the book this morning and read it all weekend. I'm about ready to pick it up and read it again. So really
God bless
appreciate
you, man.
your time. Again, it's Tim Sanders. The book is called Today We Are Rich. Comes out this Wednesday. Follow the links and stuff that Tim put in there. So again, thanks very much for your time, Tim.
Absolutely. Thank you.